Hey guys, Cliff here with Funny Bug Bees. I just wanted to bring you guys a quick video today. You can probably see from the video that I'm getting a little bit older, right at 50. And it's becoming more and more difficult for me to find eggs, fresh laid eggs inside brood comb. So I've started making splits by not even finding eggs. I just get the queen from an established hive along with some 2 or 3 frames of capped brood, uncapped brood, larvae, you know, and the queen, and move her to a nucleus hive and let the original hive raise a new queen. And of course, you don't do this on a weak original hive. I'm typically doing this on strong hives that have 2 deep brood boxes that are relatively crammed with larvae, capped brood, and eggs, so that I'm fairly certain that there are eggs in one of those 2 boxes, and so far it's worked out really well. So I wanted to take some time today and show you guys this. I've got a nucleus hive here that I split yesterday, and I've gotten to the point to where I don't really look for the queen, but to make this method work, you want to make sure that your queen ends up in the nucleus. So I find the queen, the frame that she's on, put her in the nuke, along with 2 more frames of eggs and brood, and then a frame of pollen and a frame of pollen and honey, and then an empty frame so they've got something to do for a day or 2 before adding a second box on top of the nuke with 5 empty frames that they can draw out and start working. As soon as they have 9 of those 10 frames drawn, that's when I move them I move them to 8 frame boxes because I'm old and the 10 frames are too heavy. But I take those frames and I move them to an 8 frame deep and start a new colony with it, and then rinse and repeat that whole process. My dogs are going crazy, and the neighbor's dogs. I apologize for that. So I'm just going to show you guys this nuke, and we're going to take a look at the original colony today. It's been 2 days. I just want to make sure that what we want to make sure of is that there's a queen cell that's being constructed, or queen cells that are being constructed in the original hive. That lets you know that they had eggs of the appropriate age to make a new queen. So we'll go ahead and take a look now. Alright, so guys, this is the nuke. It's 2 boxes deep, and then I've got a hive top feeder as well. Alright, so I just got the lid off that. As you guys can see, in the top box, there's already plenty of bees up in the top box. There's 2 frames of bees in the top box. Now, this frame right here, this first frame right here, was one that I had stored that's full of honey and stores for them, and they're busily working on that. I do want to take a look just really quickly at the bottom box, which I'm not really concerned with it, but seems to be plenty going on in here. So let me get that top box on, and we'll take a look in the bottom one. Alright guys, here's the bottom box. It is absolutely jam-packed with bees. What I did when I made this split was I took the queen and put her in this nuke, and then I set up this nucleus hive right beside the original hive, and I left that for the first half a day so that the foragers from the original hive kind of split between the 2 boxes as they came back, which is why there's just a ton of bees in this nuke. It's a great way to do this. Tons of bees. There's plenty of activity going on in there. You can see every frame pretty much is jam-packed with bees. And that's just by letting that nucleus hive sit beside the original hive that first end of day. As the foragers came back, they split between the 2 hives. And then what I did the next afternoon was I came back in the afternoon and plugged up the entrance so I could move it, and I just walked it across my yard and put it here just on a couple of cinder blocks just for now. But it looks like it's doing really well. I don't see any issues with it. There's plenty of bees up in the second box now working as well. So let's take a look at the original hive. That's really where the important part comes in, and make sure that we've got queen cells being produced over there. All right, guys, this hive right here is the original hive that it came out of, and they may be slightly aggressive. We'll see in a second. It's been my experience, be careful, Oreo. It's been my experience that a hive without a queen tends to be more aggressive, so just keep that in mind for you new beekeepers out there. Let's get it torn apart and take a look inside. All right, guys, so this is the original hive. Lots of bees in the second brood box. Still lots going on in there. What we want to do is we just want to make sure that there are queen cells being produced. So we're going to pull out some frames, and the first queen cell that I see, that's where I'm going to stop, and I'm just going to put everything back together, because you really don't want to have, you don't need to go through every frame in a hive to find out what you need to know. My mission for this inspection is to find queen cells. So as soon as I find queen cells, my mission is completed, and I'll close up the hive and leave them alone. Alright, guys, this is what I wanted to show you. I've taken up to the 5th frame here, and we're loaded up with queen cells right on the bottoms of the frames, just like we'd want to see. Okay, so it doesn't look like they're having any trouble at all creating queen cells here. So this split is, I think, going to work perfectly. Let me go ahead and get them back together now so we can stop bothering them. Okay, guys, so it appears to have worked. So this is called a walkaway split. It's a split that you make without really being concerned with where the queen is, although I've gone the extra step to make sure that the queen was actually in my nuke. The original hive, which I just showed you, has a ton of queen cells in it. That was the first frame of queen cells that I got to, and there were 5 or 6 on the bottom of it. I'm sure if we would have went further, we would have found more. That hive is a 2 deep 8 frame brood box setup. Currently queenless because we put the queen in a nuke. The nuke is going strong, and it looks like those guys are the old hive is well on their ways, or those girls are well on their way to making a new queen. So in about 3 weeks, I'll check just to make sure. 21 days, something like that. And hopefully we'll have a mated queen, and we'll have capped brood again. Within 3 weeks, all the brood that's in there will have hatched out. There shouldn't be any capped brood, of course, without a queen in 3 weeks. So we'll know, even if you can't see the eggs, that there's a laying queen in there just by capped brood, so long as that capped brood is not being made by a laying worker. But you'll know that pattern. It's really sporadic. Laying workers will lay clumps of eggs in the bottom of cells, and you can see those. And laying workers will tend to stop laying after a new queen gets established and her pheromones take over. So I'll keep you guys up to date on what's going on this, and hopefully this helps some of you. So your steps are, get you a nuke box, take a frame of eggs and brood, or 3 frames of eggs and brood of all different ages, put them in the nuke, along with a frame of honey and pollen, and I use pollen patties when I make splits just to help them out, but that's just me. So, and then your 5th frame for that nuke is just going to be an empty frame of foundation, so that they've got something to work and feel like the queen won't abscond right away right after the split. So that's your first step. You put all that into the nuke, and then you set that nuke up right pushed up against the original hive for the rest of that day, so that the workers returning from the field will split between the original hive and the nuke, and you'll end up with a good bee population in your nuke. At the end of that day, after dark, go out and plug up the entrance. I use a entrance reducer without the holes cut in it, so they can't exit. I just pop it in, walk the nuke to the other side of my yard, and I'll take that introducer out, and usually what I'll do is I'll take some leafy twigs and put in front of the entrance. When the worker bees come out the next morning, they're not going to recognize where they are, especially with the twigs and leaves and stuff all in front of their entranceway, so they'll take an orientation flight and typically won't go back to the original hive. As you can see, that nuke that I made is packed full of bees. They didn't all fly to the hive, to the original hive, and the original hive is only about 40 yards away from the nuke. So that's your setup. You just move the queen in the nuke to its new location. The original hive will come up with their own queen. And to check for that, go back in 2 days after you make the split and do like I did. Just look for queen cells. If you see queen cells, they're doing exactly what they need to do. Anyway, it's a short video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be bringing more to you, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.